Welcome to the Riff on It podcast. I'm Mike Karolyi, our very first guest right here, Mike Mushok of Staind, Saint Asonia, and various projects. How are you?
Good, yourself?
I'm doing well. So this is the pilot project, the launch, the debut of Riff on It.
Yeah.
So is Riff on It a term you use as a guitar player? Is that something you throw around?
I always try to come up with riffs.
Yeah.
For,
That's your life's work.
That's kind of basically what it is just sitting around trying to come up with cool riffs.
So what we're going to do here is not come up with riffs because I have no ability to play the guitar, but he does. But what we're going to do is kind of riff on ideas about the music industry, talk to music professionals, whether they're record company guys or managers or artists, and just kind of get some insight as to what life is like on that side. You're a fan, I'm a fan, and I'd love to know like the behind the scenes conversations and experiences and stories that go on. And so who better to talk to than a guy like Mike Mushok, right? So number one, how have you been?
Doing all right.
Yeah?
Yeah, hanging in there.
It's, I don't know, last time I saw you, maybe it was at the Staind show at when you guys did the reunion.
It might have been. I do know you reached out to me at one time, right when everything kind of shut down last March, and I was right in the middle of something, and I never got back to you, and I still feel bad about that.
Well, you should.
And here we are.
I've known you for 20 years.
Right.
You can't respond to a text.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So, as I was saying a minute ago, what we want to do is just kind of talk about the business, and right now with the pandemic, there's not a lot of music business going on, or it certainly is different.
It's definitely taken a turn, and everybody's trying to figure out what they can do right now.
Right. Well, before we get into what you've been doing and what you plan to do, what has your pandemic experience been like? Whether it's Mike Mushok of Staind or just Mike.
No, sure. Honestly, it's very similar to when I'm out on the road. It's not much different for me. The kids are home for school. That's different.
I was reading that Jimmy Page actually said he's had more time to play guitar.
Yeah.
Have you found the same thing?
It's funny. I didn't at first, but it's turned into that. At first,
really?
Because I had all these things that I wanted to do, and it turned in time for me to be able to get, moving my daughter's bedroom. She was going to get this one. We had to redo this, moving my son's. So I ended up doing that.
Yeah.
Rather than playing. And then it turned to playing.
Right.
Once that stuff was done, and then there was, but even at that point too, then it was back to, summer, and, my daughter shows horses. So she's at the barn 5-6 days a week, shows on weekends. My son plays travel baseball. So he's,
how's he doing? He's been playing baseball for years.
Yeah.
So he must love it.
Yeah, he does.
Does he do fall ball?
He does year round, basically.
Really? Because that was the death of it for my son.
It was, yeah.
All baseball, it's like,
but nobody cares. It's just kind of like, you just go out there and have fun.
Yeah. In the springtime, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on that's all the kids, parents show up, and grandparents in the fall. Nobody.
Yeah.
All right. So has this guitar playing during the pandemic led to, maybe more new song ideas for Staind, perhaps, or Saint Asonia, or?
Yeah, no, there's definitely been some of that. Actually, Staind signed a record deal during this
really?
whole thing. Yeah. So
okay, so for years you were with Atlantic,
Electra, which went to Atlantic.
Right?
So actually, we Staind's last record was the last record of our contract that we signed in '98. And I remember sitting with our attorney at the time and going, 6 records. I go, why is it so many? He's like, don't worry. Nobody ever gets there. And if you do, just be thankful that you did. And we did. But then we stopped. You know what I mean? That was right. So Aaron went on and, pursued his, country career. And
did the end of the contract did that open up that opportunity for Aaron to go do that? Do you think it would have happened anyway?
I think it was going to happen anyways. He had always been kind of, going in that direction and having, wanting to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he went and did that, and, we didn't have a contract. So there was no commitment really to have, nobody's saying to you have to have a record. You know what I mean? So, so I guess in that sense, it probably did open it up a little bit. But it's funny. It's with Danny Wimmer. It's he has a deal with BMG, so it's it's on that. So and
Good.
Danny's done a ton for us. I mean, like even I felt like even like the last shows that we did was that fall of 2019.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of that came from him just, asking us to play his festivals,
So take me back, though, back 20 years ago or whatever, when you first go in to sign a record deal with Elektra. I mean, you have to go in with a bunch of guys from southern New England, not really knowing how to sign a contract or what that's all about.
No, you don't. And in
so
fact,
what do you do?
So we originally, you kind of go on what people are telling you at the time, and you try to get as much advice as you can and follow what you think is the right path. So we originally signed with Flip Records, which was Jordan Schur, which Limp Bizkit was on because Fred Durst is the one that helped us get that deal.
Right.
Jordan then went and did a joint venture with Elektra Records, and so that's why we were on Flip Elektra. So, got an attorney. And
is that the key? Get an attorney? Is that like one of the first things you should do?
You have to, because they have to. You get handed this 50-page document that you can read it. I mean, second page you're falling asleep. What? You can kind of understand what it's saying. But you need somebody to kind of decipher that and go through what those points are, and
right.
But the thing is, your first record deal, you're not changing any of them.
Right.
It does, like I said, 6. I don't want it to be at 6. Well, that's what it is. It doesn't matter what you want or not because it's your first record deal.
Right.
Why
didn't you want 6?
It just seemed like it's way too long to be locked into anything.
Yeah.
So.
But when you signed it, weren't you thrilled? Like,
oh no, totally.
This is what I've worked for. And playing these clubs in Springfield and Hartford.
Oh no, it was fantastic.
And then here's that moment. Was it a celebratory moment? Did you guys?
It was, yeah. I don't remember what. I mean, we were all in New York. I remember we all went to our attorney's office and signed it there. But yeah, no, it definitely was, for sure.
So now the story with Staind goes that Fred Durst discovered you at
Webster,
the Webster in Hartford,
Webster in Hartford, yeah.
And I know you've told me the story before. I always find it interesting that he actually was trying to get you thrown off before you hit the stage, right?
He did, yeah. He saw our CD cover from Tormented and went up to Aaron and wasn't happy and, tried to have us thrown off the bill. And we were going on like 10. And Aaron came to me. He's like, he doesn't want us to play. I'm like, we're playing. I mean, stuff is all set up, and he watched the whole set. And it was like a 20-minute set. We were like first of 4 bands. They had their first record had just come out, and afterwards he, really liked the band.
What was it? Did he ever verbalize it to you? Because he called you like in the middle of the night, didn't he?
Well, so what happened was he gave us our number. I remember everybody was all excited. We hung out with him that night, and we went home. So I had his number, and I tried calling him that week, and he never answered. I tried calling him for like a month, never. And that's what I said to those guys. I go, listen, you'll hear these things. I said, I mean, until anything happens, it's just talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anybody can say anything. So what happened was that we were working on some new songs, and we had, I think, 3 songs, and it was the night. This was in October of 97, I think it was, yeah. And so that Thanksgiving night, they were playing with the Deftones outside of Boston, and we had just finished a demo of 3 songs. So we had, this old beat-up van that we used to use. We all hopped in that, drove to the show, and, did the knock on the bus door.
That's always comfortable.
Oh, yeah, no, totally. So, and after living in a bus for 20 years, I know what it's like when somebody knocks on the door, like, really? Nobody wants to get it. But Wes, I think, opened the door, and Lethal was there, and we never even saw Fred. We left some tapes there of this new songs, and watched the show, drove home, and that's when it was. It was like 3 a.m. I had my phone number on the cassette tape.
Smart.
And he called me, and it was playing in the background, and he, that was kind of what set everything in motion. We went down to Jacksonville, like the day after Christmas. I think we had a gig, and like after that gig, we loaded up our trailer and just drove to Florida. And remember, we said, "Welcome to Florida," and we had got one of those inverters, and we had like, They had like a video gaming console plugged in. We had like everything in the world plugged into this thing and blew the alternator. Literally, welcome to Florida. The van died and we had to go
Really?
and have it towed. Yeah.
Luckily, Jacksonville's not far into it.
Fred had to come pick us up. We were
Really?
literally on the side of the road. Yeah.
Did he also have a van? Did he?
No, he never. No. But and we spent a week there just kind of working on songs, which ended up becoming Dysfunction, the record. And that's actually the first time that I met Danny Wimmer. He had a club in Jacksonville called the Milk Bar, and that New Year's Eve, after spending a week playing, we played that show with Limp Bizkit at the Milk Bar.
So you're watching Riff on it here. Mike Mushok, of course, Staind and Saint Asonia, and various projects and stuff. And this reminds me of when the first time I met you and Aaron. I remember the record guy called up and said, I was working at a radio station in Hartford. We've got this band, want you to meet. And I'm like, okay. They're from Springfield. And I'm like, okay, cool. But, at the time I'm thinking, here's a local band that's going to give me their tape and stuff. But you were with Elektra.
Right.
And he's like, I want to take you out to dinner. And I'm like, I don't want to go out to dinner.
Right.
It was just, when you have a kid at home, you want to be home.
No, right.
But I said, if we're going out to dinner, I'm not doing sushi or any of that stuff. I want to go to a pizza place. And went to Lena's Pizza in Hartford.
It's Hartford,
which isn't there anymore.
I know. It was good, too.
Oh, it was great. That stuffed meat pizza.
Yeah.
But you guys came in, if I remember right, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys in the early days would dress similarly.
On stage, we did, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you dressed that way at the restaurant. Maybe you did. I don't remember.
Aaron would usually pick my clothes for me. So, yeah.
Well, this would look nice on you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Hold up. Yeah, I think
that goes nice with your eyes.
That's your eyes, yeah.
So what was the thought on stage dressing kind of in uniform?
I don't know.
Whose idea was it?
It's a really good question. I don't remember.
And what was the thought behind it? You want to have a unified front when you go on, like, what,
Yeah, I don't know.
They were kind of like mechanic shirts.
No, it was
and
Dickies.
Yeah.
Dickies pants and a Dickies shirt.
That's why. Did you have a deal with Dickies?
Well, we did eventually after that. Once we started doing that, yes, they would send us clothes.
What were sneakers too?
Shell toes.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And then you had a deal with that?
Yeah, they would send us stuff too, yeah.
So is that how it goes when you start in a band and then all of a sudden they start sending you products?
It used to. I don't get anything sent to me anymore. But
Really?
Yeah.
You would think the bigger you get, the more you'd get.
Well, there was a time, but we haven't played, and I don't know. I've never really, I never really tried to either. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a time when
You
all
ever
of that
reached
stuff.
out to get new sneakers?
No, I just go buy them.
All right, so you just mentioned you haven't been doing a ton because of the pandemic, and even prior to that, there was a handful of shows at the end of 2019 for Staind. But in recent time, you did some COVID performances with Aaron.
Yep.
What is that like? Now, I've watched some of these streaming performances, and some of them are fantastic. Some of them don't quite translate as a fan watching it.
Sure.
What's the musician's kind of take on that? Like is it weird that you're just sitting in a room with the two of you?
No, I mean, it felt like we were just like sitting around playing. So, I mean, you don't even really realize that it's being broadcast. That
Right.
really was just kind of us sitting around playing some old Staind songs and some we've never played before.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that always blows my mind, like when I think of bands, especially some of my favorite bands. And then you realize that once the song is written and maybe even put on an album, you may never play it again.
Yeah, I had to go back and relearn all of that stuff.
Is there stuff on Dysfunction that you haven't played since it was
Well,
recorded?
Dysfunction, you have to realize, I mean, when we put that record out, that's all that we had. And we spent over a year and a half on the road.
That's true.
We played every one of those songs, you know what I mean? Every night for, 18 months. You know what I mean? So, no, those were...
That's true.
Yeah, all
what
of
about,
those
well, maybe
songs were played.
Tormented?
Yeah, well, no. I mean, I can't even remember the songs off of that.
Really? See, that blows
Yeah.
my mind. Because at the time, that was the most important thing to you.
It was, yeah. And
It led to your deal. And
Yeah, no, for sure.
But you don't...
No,
That's
I haven't
weird.
heard it.
You
In fact,
couldn't name every song on Tormented right now.
No, probably not.
That's amazing to me.
But I mean, I did it. That was over. I was
That was a long
25
time ago.
years ago.
That was a long time ago.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, no. It was funny though. Like, even the other day, we had gone away, and I had to drive to pick up dinner or whatever. And I was coming back, and I had, I don't know, it was Turbo, one of this Sirius stations was on, and one of our songs came on. I think it was, I don't even remember. I think it was Chapter 5. And I had heard, same thing, I hadn't heard it in ages. And I actually
You say,
listened.
who is this?
No, I knew who it was. I recognized it, but it was actually cool to listen to it because I hadn't, I'm like, oh man, I haven't heard this song forever.
That is cool.
Yeah.
That's a different perspective. I've asked you this before, actually, about if Staind comes on the radio, do you listen to it?
Not usually, no.
No.
Change it. That one I did because I hadn't heard that song.
And do you change it just because, why? Well, you tell me.
I don't know. I just don't feel like listening to myself.
Really? Yeah. Are you one of those that once the album's recorded, you try to move away from it? Like you don't go back and listen to it?
No.
You will listen to it, or you won't?
No, I won't.
Oh, you won't?
No.
Huh.
There are times that, so like the last Staind record, I really liked that record.
That's a great record.
So there was one time I was driving to Foxborough, and I was in my truck, and I never put the CDs on. I'm like, oh. I didn't even remember what CDs were in.
I was just going to say, you had a CD?
This was a while ago. And I had one of those 6 CD changer things in it. And I don't even remember what CDs are in there. And that record, like the master copy was in there. And I ended up listening to the whole thing.
That's a great record.
Thank
It
you.
really is. You know what you guys did with that, which always impressed me, was that every band says, we're going to go back and we're going to make a heavy record again. And it never happens. It doesn't. Bands say it all the time.
Yeah.
You guys did it.
Yeah.
That last record you guys did was heavy. I mean,
Yeah.
there was other stuff on there. It wasn't, but
No, it was pretty much beginning to end. It
Yeah.
was pretty heavy. There was something to remind you. Was
Right,
really
that-
the only thing that was.
yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the riffs in there are just give you goosebumps
Oh,
when you
thank
hear
you,
them.
man.
And the louder you turn it up and stuff too. Do you have the same reaction to your own songs? Like when you hear it, like I know you play them a lot, so maybe you get desensitized to it a bit. But do you have, when you hear your music played back, whether it's initial recording, demo, in the studio setting, or the final product, do you hear the same as like I would hear it when I'm hearing it? or-
Sometimes, it's funny. We're coming up on 20 years of when Break the Cycle was released.
That's crazy.
And one thing I'll never remember is that we had all taken a car to the mastering of that record in New York. And I remember driving back and we were all listening to it. And I was, it was.
You got it.
I felt at that point like, wow, we really, this is really good.
Now, did you feel like, okay, this is going to be...
You don't know that, you know what I mean? But
But you felt like maybe if anything is going to be, this might be it.
yeah, I just felt like we made a really good record. You know what I mean? And I just remember all of us being together and listening to it too.
What was it about the record in connectivity, in other words, from first song to last, that you thought made it more special than anything you had done before?
I just felt like we had gone to places that we had at that point gone to as a band and done things that we hadn't done before. And I felt that we did a good job of it.
Yeah.
You
You're watching Riff on it, Mike Mushok, Staind and Saint Asonia. And so we're talking about Break the Cycle, which even for me was exciting from being from the area that you're from.
Well, listen, I mean, you got to tell what helped launch that.
I give myself a little pat on the back.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, there was no question that the acoustic version of Outside from Family Values. I mean, I remember coming home from tour, and again, we had just finished. I was living in Springfield, and I had bought my grandparents' house right before we left to go on the road for Dysfunction, and we had made the basement into a rehearsal spot, and I was working again on, you know what I mean, on that.
Framing
and
it
I
out,
had,
putting up
yeah,
drywall.
exactly. And CCC was on, and I started hearing the song again and again and again, and I'm like, holy smokes, this is, you know what I mean?
Something's
And
happening
the
here.
thing got some legs, right? I mean,
So two things. One, Aaron used to tell me that when they would go to your grandmother's house to rehearse, you were very particular. They had to take their shoes off.
no, that's bullshit. I
You
never.
were afraid. You didn't want the place
I
messed
never
up.
have anybody take their shoes off. No.
Well, Aaron said it.
Oh, okay. Well, if he said it, must be
Well, it
true.
was a long time ago. Man.
Yeah.
Maybe I
Yeah.
remember it wrong.
Yeah.
The other thing is, yes. So I remember, I can visualize that day I got the CD in the mail at the radio station, and I opened it up, Family Values 99. So I flip it over and I'm looking at the track listing on there. And back then we had some latitude to kind of do what we wanted.
Sure.
I was the music director, so I could pick and choose the songs. And I saw Aaron Lewis Outside bonus track at the bottom. So I listened to it in the studio before putting it on. I'm like, I can get away with this. It's acoustic, it's chill, And I liked it. So I put it on. And literally from that first play on the radio, we started getting phone calls. What is that? I haven't heard that before. That's great. It just snowballed. And I remember calling Michael Papali.
Yeah.
After a few weeks, because we started to play it. I put it right into rotation because it was getting that kind of reaction. Michael Papali is a record guy.
Our old manager.
Yeah, a manager. Yeah, he used to work with you.
But he was a radio guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would call me and beat me up about airplay and this and that and the other thing. He was a character. He still is.
He is a great guy.
Great guy. So I'd call him up and I'd say, Michael, this Family Values album is selling like 300 pieces a week in Hartford.
Yeah.
And he's like, it is? He was stunned. That was only 300. And he said, it's not doing anything around the United States. So he goes, keep me posted. So I called back the next week. It's selling 700. And then it was 1,500. And it just, by the time it hit about 300 pieces just in Hartford, he's like, okay, we're going to make this a single. And we're going to take it to, Boston and Albany and Providence. And it kind of grew out of Hartford and just went from there. And so this is between Dysfunction and Break the Cycle.
Correct.
This is kind of the bridge between the two.
It was.
Did that song at all change anything that you did on Break the Cycle? Did it change a direction you were headed toward or anything?
I don't know. I mean, listen, obviously it's been a while it was on there, and I think that it kind of led to that being the first single off of that, which was, obviously our biggest song ever,
Right.
And that was something that Aaron had been, same thing as Outside, had been playing, so we kind of took, his song and kind of added our parts to it and,
Right.
Made it to what, so you can hear what we did like Outside. You can hear that version to what's on the record. You know
Right.
what I mean? It's just kind of adding everybody else into it.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
what was that time like for you guys? Because again,
exciting.
It had to be, right?
No, yeah, no, for sure.
Because different things started popping up.
honestly, I look back at it's kind of like those first few years of when we started from our first tour ever was April of '99, opening for Kid Rock. And, we were going around, we were playing these festivals. And there's a couple that stick out. There was HF Festival in DC and there was a Livestock in Tampa. I remember those two where like the first year you go in, you're on a stage in the parking lot. People are walking in and you're playing at, 1 in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
That's a good feeling when people are walking past you to get in further
I mean,
inside.
there's some people watching. But then you come back, Dysfunction comes out, it goes gold or whatever. There's some songs on the radio. Hey, we'll put you on the main stage. You're at 12. You know what I mean? Same thing.
Take it.
You'll take it. But I mean, you're playing this place 60,000 people and you got, 500 in front of you. Everybody's walking in as you're playing. You know what I mean? But I mean, it went from that to headlining those festivals. You know what I mean? So you could see and feel. I mean, it was a few years.
That's crazy.
It was kind of, Break the Cycle, really kind of helped propel that to that point.
How does that change you as a person? And I've known you for 20 years, and you seem to be the same guy I knew way back then. But how does it change you? Like, does it mess with you at all? Like, why are these people looking at me? Because now they recognize you as Mike Mushok, or, you tell me, did it change you at all? Like, did it?
You just said it. I very consciously didn't want to change it all from whoever I was, and I just kind of took it that feeling fortunate that we were able to make this music that people wanted to listen to and gravitated towards, and I was just really thankful to be able to reach my goal, which was always to make a living playing my own music, which we were doing.
Did you ever feel you had to chase that album after it, or did you just keep doing what you do?
We didn't. Everybody around us did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What kind of pressure is that for a band when you guys are, so you guys are a bunch of guys from southern New England and Massachusetts, and you're playing in a garage or whatever, and it's taken off, and it's just you guys, and then you have all these other influences.
Oh, I know, and I don't want to speak for Aaron, but I know that, in talking to him, that I know that I think it was probably hardest on him because his lyrics were so personal
Yeah.
on dysfunction. And he had all these people just kind of gravitating towards what he said. When you're playing to a club in Springfield and nobody can really hear what, you know what I mean? Nobody knows what you're doing.
Sure.
But now people have this record and they, dissect and they listen to every single thing you say. And they get all these different meanings for it. It means so much to them, and which is fantastic, which I mean is part of, being able to connect with the fans. But I think there was a time where it got real difficult for him because everybody went to him as a lyricist, and you'd hear all these stories that were, it can be hard.
Oh, I'm sure.
So
when you come back from doing a tour, like for Break the Cycle, is it hard to come back and be Mike Mushok, husband, father, whatever? Maybe you didn't even have your kids then.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't. In fact,
but is it hard to come back to like normal life?
I mean, to me, the thing that's tough is that, it's not realistic when you're on the road and everybody's there and there's people doing things for you all day long. If you want, if you want. So, I mean, there was a bit of that, decompression coming home from the road and, kind of, I got to take the trash out. Or, I got to vacuum or whatever the case, you know what I mean? Or, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. But no, I don't think so. And listen, the more that it went on, the easier that got because this is just what it is. I get to go out on the road. I get to do this. I get to play this music and then I can come home and, just enjoy friends and family.
So here we are. So this year, and who knows? I keep saying that this year is going to be the year of wait and see because you kind of have to wait and see what's going to happen. But it is the 20th anniversary of Break the Cycle.
Yeah.
So what goes on with like you and Aaron and the guys? Do you get on the phone and talk about plans for maybe an anniversary tour or something? What do you guys do to talk about that?
Yeah, I realized it, I guess, towards the end of last year, and I called our manager. I'm like, this is going to be 20 years. We got it. Everybody's doing these live streams. In fact, I feel like Danny Wimmer's kind of like the epicenter of everything that's rock, right? Mm-hmm. So he's doing a lot of these live streams. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're going to try and get together and do a stream of us playing the record.
Really?
Put that out there and like interviews of everybody around it and kind of reliving that time and, going through, kind of like I said, that ride home, listening to the CD or, just kind of going through where we were at that time and what was going on.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Now, as a musician, the recording studio is part of it, and you can still do some of that now, even during the pandemic, obviously, and, doing the streaming stuff is cool. But I would imagine that doing the live shows is really
what you
miss.
For sure. I mean, listen, we had a lot of touring plans, which was great because, I mean, it'd been, years,
So what was the plan to refresh our memories? For 2020, what was Staind going to do?
We were doing that tour with Disturbed.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were going to do double duty, right? Wasn't Saint Asonia on some of that?
No, I don't. Well, actually, they were on some of those shows, yes.
Hartford was going to be one of them, yeah.
Was it? Because I know that there was some, like, festivals we were doing that Saint Asonia was on as well. And
I could have remembered that wrong, too. But I know there were some shows
there is.
You were
You're
playing
right.
twice.
Yes.
How is that, going into that thought, is it like, I don't know if that's a lot, or is it like, no big deal?
No, it's a lot.
I would think so.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So, and it never really got to the point that I figured out exactly how I was going to do it or how we were going to handle it. Because Saint Asonia did have to get somebody, it was going to have to get somebody else to play guitar, because Staind had those shows.
Yeah, right.
So.
Is that weird for you? That's got to be weird for you. It's your band and someone else.
Right. I mean, yeah, the whole thing is kind of a little bit difficult because I was, again, I was very proud of what, Adam and I have done.
Sure.
I look at those records that first record that we did, same type of thing. And the second one too, but I just felt like that when we finished the first one, it was just, it took a lot to get that together. You know what I mean? And put that together and make that happen. And definitely proud of it. And, love working with Adam. And I feel just fortunate for working with two of my favorite singers.
I was going to say, you've had some really great voices to complement the music you arrange and create. So that's got to be very rewarding for you.
It is. It's awesome.
What took so long? Like, so from the first album to, to what you've done now with Saint Asonia, there's a big gap of time there.
There was. Adam needed a little bit of time to kind of take care of himself a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
and he had a kid and, married. And so all those things, life kind of took over for a minute.
Life will do that. From
Yeah,
time to
no,
time.
it does. It does. And,
how's he doing now?
He's great.
Good.
Yeah, I know. He's doing really well.
Good.
Yeah.
So, okay. So the plan was you were going to do some Saint Asonia in 2020, and you had a bunch of Staind dates that you were going to do and all of that. And so how do you get the word? I mean, I'm sure with all the news, you could figure out, well.
Yeah, they're not putting 15,000 people into an amphitheater.
Right.
Right.
But do you find out, how far in advance do you find out before the public finds out that a Staind tour, for example, is canceled?
I mean, I think everybody kind of knew that all those things were going to go away.
Yeah.
Once everything, with where everything was. So about a week ago, I am subscribed to the calendar for Staind, and my phone just started buzzing. Bzz, bzz, bzz. I'm like, what the hell? I hate when my phone buzzes. It gives me anxiety. like I'm something I have to deal with or answer. And it was the calendar getting refilled with all the dates for the summer.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually had a call yesterday. I'm like, what's going on with these? And nobody really knows. They're there. But I mean, I don't think anybody's really made a commitment. Everybody's acting like they're happening.
Right.
Well,
you have to have a plan, and then if you can do it, now you're ready to go.
Right.
You're watching Riff on It. I'm Mike Karolyi. This is Mike Mushok. We're talking Staind. We're talking Saint Asonia. We're talking the music business, if you will. So talk to me about, we just touched a little bit on this whole touring thing and what was supposed to happen in 2020. So now you're getting dates for this year. What do you think, whenever it is, this year, next year, whatever, what do you think is going to be different about?
I have no idea. I don't know.
So you, even as a band member, you don't have some insight on it.
No, I don't. I mean, listen, I've heard certain things. I've heard that, Live Nation has all these tests and people have to get tested before they go in, or
they seem to be bigger on testing than the vaccine necessarily. Because if you have a test, then
kind of what I had heard. But I mean, everything's changing. I heard that a little while back. So I don't.
That's the name of a song.
It is. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll have to kind of wait and see where it is. I mean, sitting here today, I mean, I think it's still going to be hard for them to open up these shows to that many people.
Would you guys be interested in playing smaller clubs or smaller?
I mean,
like
I think
a
the
theater
club's going to. I think that's going to. Yeah, I mean, I guess, but I mean, you know what the problem is? Like I'm part owner in a venue.
Six strings
in Foxborough, yeah. And so, you look at that and you look, you gotta pay the band. So I mean, it's financially, it's very difficult to make those things work.
Oh, I'm sure.
In that type of setting, because I mean, we're based upon quantity.
Right.
It's a quantity business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
So I mean, if a band's got to make so much, and that's got to change too, because now you can't sell as many tickets, and it's just hard.
Right.
It's hard to make that formula work.
I live in New York right now, and Governor Cuomo has opened up some arenas.
Yeah, like 20% or something, right?
So for sports, there is some leeway there because they have merchandise and television deals and all kinds of stuff to generate revenue, so they can have fewer people. Right. But for a band, an artist, it doesn't make financial sense, right?
It's really difficult to make that work, and everybody's trying to figure out different ways of doing things. And, we've looked at, doing some of those, the pod where you divide things up into, and everybody buys a square for however many people. Yeah.
Yeah. Back in September.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's on a farm.
Oh, the one in Connecticut.
Yeah. South Farms.
Yeah.
Went to see the Marcus King band there, and it was cool.
Right.
It's different, but it was outside, so you felt good. You felt separated.
Well, I think the outside thing makes a big difference. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think at least for myself, I feel like if you're outside, I feel like it's much more difficult for anything to transmit, probably.
Sure.
So,
All right. So who knows what's going to happen with touring,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah, no, that's really kind of where it is. I mean,
but in the meantime, are you writing?
Yeah.
Are you creating?
Yeah.
And now, are you doing this by yourself? And then you're gonna.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do. I'll
Is that what you've always done?
Yeah, for the most part. So, so in a conversation for this, I feel like this has been sitting here, so I was going to show
I just thought you brought a prop from the past. I don't
no,
know.
well, I mean, the conversation came up like, how do you come across these things,
Yeah.
or ideas or songs. And what I used to do was I used to have this cassette player.
That actual one.
Oh, this is one of them. I've gone through a few of them.
Sign this, and we'll give it away.
I don't even know I could buy a new one, so I wouldn't.
No,
other
I'm
than
just
I
kidding.
need it.
My dad, I'll do a quick story. My dad had one of these, and he took me and my sister to see Johnny Cash at the Springfield Civic
Oh
Center.
my gosh, that's awesome.
Way back when I was like 5 years
Did you
old.
have it in his pocket to record it?
He snuck this in and recorded it.
One this size, not the small one.
It was winter and he had it under his coat. It was different back in the 70s.
Yeah,
You
sure.
could walk in with a keg if you wanted to. And so he has a recording and all you hear is because all it has is a condenser mic.
that's right. Yeah.
Anyway,
He tried.
he did
He
try.
tried.
He was bootlegging shows in the 70s.
That's great. How was the show?
The show was great, but
It was, right?
I was 5 years old. I remember very little of it.
Right.
It was in Springfield, it was your hometown.
Yeah, no, for sure. So what I used to do is that like a year would start. So like this one is 13-1. So that's 2013, the first tape that I
Nice.
started of that year.
You
So
got a
I
good
would take
quality
it.
cassette too.
Oh yeah, nothing but the best. I remember walking into it might be like an Office Max or something. There's some kid working there, and like, do you guys have cassette tapes? He's like, huh? What?
You did this recently?
I mean, it wasn't that. I mean, well, whatever. However long ago Office Max was still around. I think they've closed years ago.
I just saw one the other day.
Oh, you did?
But I live in New York now. It's different.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's a cutting edge where you are. But anyways, yeah, he had no idea what they were. How do you like the manager?
Oh, man.
And they had them though. But anyways,
The manager knew? Well, that's good.
so I used to just keep this next to me whenever I would play and I come up with an idea that I liked. I would just hit record on this and I'd talk into it.
Right.
So you would get something like,
I'm going to throw this down and standard tuning.
so because I have so many tunings, I'd say what I tuned it to. So I was playing, I came up with this, I liked it. Mm-hmm. So this, I would just play it into the tape so I wouldn't forget it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
You got a lot of these?
Boxes.
Really?
Boxes. Yep. So this was in here, and I just rewound to the beginning, and I heard this.
Don't hit record.
No, I know. Actually, the funny thing is that I actually, that actually was used on something. There was, around that time, I was written some songs for some like bed music for movies.
Oh, yeah?
And this was actually in a documentary
Huh.
about Hurricane Sandy.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how I wrote it. I was actually watching this devastation of the storm. That's when I wrote that too.
Huh.
And it went into
So you're
that.
watching it and coming up with what you were feeling from watching it. Wow.
Yeah, so that's what that's from. But actually, I love that riff.
Yeah.
I really like that. I always wanted it to be a song and somebody to sing over it.
Can you do that now that you've used it for a documentary?
Yeah, I'm going to.
It's
So
yours, right?
Yeah, no, totally.
You can sue yourself.
Hey, it wasn't like it was The Godfather and everybody in the world's heard it, right? I mean, so who's going to
But
know?
now on Let It Riff, they're going to now,
Try and track down that Sandy,
yeah,
Hurricane
they're gonna
Sandy
go look it up.
documentary and try to hear that song. But
Riff
yes,
on it.
So this tape's just filled with ideas like that.
That's so
And-
cool.
and-
But how often do you refer back to that when you're creating?
well, that's the thing.
Because you artists are always moving forward, and
Well, so I haven't. So there's boxes of them, and it was one of those things that I always wanted to do is go back and kind of go through them.
Yeah.
But that's where like all those Staind records, I mean, I remember that song, the song Right Here. That's what I just put a tape in, and I heard that riff to Right Here.
that
And
guy's
I,
good.
And I went, but I have no recollection of ever playing it or writing it. That's why I have to explain, the tuning, because I always the different tunings and stuff. So that's where the song ended up coming from, because I heard that, and so it kind of sparks other things. So that's why even if there's something I just kind of think there's something there, I'll just throw it on tape, and a lot of it's garbage probably.
How common is that for bands to do that? I mean, I would imagine that's fair.
You got to ask them.
Come on, you must hang out with bands all the time.
Yeah,
Who are your best friends aside from Staind and Saint Asonia? Who would you say are your best friends in the music business?
Music business.
People that we would know.
Sure. You know who I'm really, the Lowrys, I'm pretty, both Clint and Corey, I'm real close with those guys. But I mean, I try to stay in touch with, like the Disturbed guys. I mean, those, I remember we were playing Chicago and we were on the Korn tour, which we were, just so excited to be on. We actually played a Korn song during their set. They'd take a break and we'd go up on stage and play Need To.
Really?
During their set. And they would take a break and we would cover a Korn song.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, it was cool, yeah. But anyways, those guys came, and I remember their record hadn't come out yet. And they had these Disturbed hockey jerseys, and they brought us their, cassettes at the time, and they left them, all of us, we hung out with them so we've known those guys for a long time. And, so I don't know. I mean, honestly, I just, once you have kids and stuff, I'm pretty much, my time's pretty well occupied with that and, staying busy.
Well, I would just imagine from festivals or just touring.
No, there's a ton of guys. Like even, I still stay in touch with Jason, Newstead, and the drummer, Jesus, in that band. I mean, we talk a lot,
Well, when you were talking about, doing double duty with Saint Asonia and Staind, maybe on the same festival or whatever, it reminded me of when Jason was doing that for a while there. He'd play Ozzy's band and Voivod and whatever. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Like to a point where he had to just say, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But he was committed to doing it. Like I think it was
he's one of the hardest working guys I've ever met, for sure.
Now he's like real estate guy. Buying up property.
Places,
It was a big story because he bought something up in upstate New York, and everybody was all excited.
Well, it's funny. So he lives not that far from Staind's drummer, Sal. So he texts me. He's like, I hear Sal lives close by. So I put those guys have been jamming together.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You think someone would come with that?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, Jason just likes to play with anybody and play all the time.
Yeah.
So
how would you feel if Sal went and did something with somebody else for a period? Or
I mean, God bless him. I mean, if you know what I mean, listen, I mean, if anybody can, if that's what's going to give somebody pleasure, make them happy. I mean, who am I to say, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
Go ahead.
This just popped back into my head because I was thinking about, the live shows, and we'll see what happens with touring and all of that. But I go back to when Staind got back together to do the handful of festivals and the 2 shows in Connecticut. So it had been, no pun, I almost said
It's been a while. Yeah, I gotcha.
How often does that happen, right?
I mean, yeah.
So, but it had been a while, and I got to imagine for you, because you hadn't played with Aaron and the guys in a good chunk of time, aside from that acoustic performance.
Yeah.
All right, so you did Aaron Lewis charity show in Northampton, which the VR session guys have video of.
We did, actually. There's, on the VR session, the version of Crawling.
It's a great version
from that.
All right,
from that night.
I know I'm skipping around a little bit. Let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
So before you guys do that, so now it's like an all-star cast out on stage. It's the Aaron Lewis charity show. You're there. Sully's there. And how much planning goes into the performance of that song?
So the thing about that song was that I wanted it, it was shortly after Chester had passed. And, we had toured with those guys on that Family Values tour. And I know Aaron and Chester were pretty close. And I mean, I knew them, but I was, those guys hung out a lot. And I had come across a version of them doing, Crawling, kind of just piano. And Chester Mike was playing piano. And I thought it was really cool. And I thought, let's try and do something like that. So I, just kind of adapted it to chord changes to guitar. And we had rehearsed the night before, and Aaron showed up for a minute, and
He's always been that guy.
Yeah, I mean, totally.
Right?
And it was literally, I didn't even think we were doing the song, and I think he's like, print up the lyrics to Crawl. I think he goes, I want to do it. So we'd never played it.
Until you got out
Yeah,
there?
that was the first time we
Really?
we rehearsed. Like some of those other songs that we did, we had rehearsed. You know what I mean? Like the Rolling Stones song, we had gone over that stuff, but that we hadn't gone over. And then Aaron was calling out songs and stuff that we hadn't gone over. So we just, yeah.
He seems like he's always been that guy. Just kind of,
No, for sure.
he can roll into something and just
Yeah.
pull it off.
Yeah, no question.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
he's great. Yeah.
But it's got to make you a little nutty or a little nervous.
Well, I'm the complete opposite
Right.
of that. I need to be prepared. What are we doing? Is there a chance we're doing something else? I'm going to learn that as well. And I'm going to make sure that I know how to do it and what I want to, you know what I mean?
There was a moment at that show. I was backstage to do some interviews and stuff. And I just saw this moment as I was standing there. You and Aaron, Corey Taylor, Sully Erna, we're all standing in a circle, probably talking about, what are we going to do tonight?
No, we're talking about you.
Oh, well, I knew that was part
We
of
just
it.
couldn't believe you were there. We were just so excited.
Can you believe Mike Karolyi's on that? But I saw this moment, and as a fan, I'm like, that is really cool. Like, here is like, so I'm a rock radio guy. I'm like, well, there's my format, all standing right there in a circle talking to each other. And I just saw, beyond that, that was the first time I saw you and Aaron standing together in quite a long time. And being so close to you guys for so many years and watching the rise of Staind, to see you even just standing next to each other and talking about whatever, it was pretty cool from a fan standpoint to see that. And I just thought that was a cool moment backstage before you go out and play. Do you remember what you guys were talking about, what you were plotting out?
I think it was mostly making fun of each other for the most part, actually. But no.
This is serious business.
Yeah. And Sully's actually another guy I'm really, get along really, knowing those
I've been
guys.
to his house.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, and I told him that, and he's like, "Really?" He had no memory of it. But it was just I went up and did an interview with him.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it was just one night I did the interview and set up all the equipment, did it, and left. And like a year or two later, I said, "Well, I've been to your house." No memory. He thought I was being creepy.
Yeah, well, duh. No, I don't remember. I remember us standing around talking, though. I do remember that.
But you had the VR sessions guys there to capture the moment.
Yeah.
So did that make you nervous? Like, when you know you're on camera, like now, we're here, Riff on it on YouTube, obviously. Please subscribe. But when you know there's a camera there, whether it's in this setting or you're on stage to do a performance, does that make you think differently or play differently, or you just forget about it?
Most part, forget about it. There have been times, like if we're, like recording, like we did, like a Mohegan Sun and a Foxwood show. Those were recorded. I'll be conscious, like if I play something wrong, I'm like, oh shit.
Is there any way to go back and correct that after the fact?
Yeah. There
See, I don't know any of this stuff.
Yeah, no, it is. There is.
That
but
blows my
still,
mind.
I'd rather, you know what I mean? You want to try and listen, even if there's a show, you don't want to be up there, you know what I mean, screwing something up, you know what I mean? But
I rarely
But
hear
the problem is, well, listen, in that setting, in a live setting, you might not hear. But if it's something that's going to be on tape, you're going to listen to again and again and again.
Right.
And I hit a chord a half step off and slide into it, you're going to, it's, or whatever the case may be,
That Mohegan production was a big one too. I remember going backstage and they had that trailer there. It was like a television production where they go.
Well, it was weird. That was like a direct TV thing, and there was direct TV on the bus, and that thing was on like every day. They played that. They played that a lot for a minute there. So, anyways,
so you're creating some songs now. Is the intention for what you're writing to be Staind songs or Saint Asonia songs?
Yeah, that's always a tough one. I mean, and it's kind of the thing. So Adam's been sending me some music, and I've been playing on that. So he's been writing a bunch, and I have to get the Staind, record done. And the thing is I mean, this is the first one in 10 years. So I mean, I mean, it's got to be great, right? I mean, so, I mean, to me, it's like I really, and I listen, everything I do, I want it to be, as good as it possibly can be, But there's definitely something a little bit more, starting that band in '94, and not that Saint Asonia is not important to me, because it is, and like I said, I love what we've done together, and
But you wouldn't have
super
Saint
talented.
Asonia if you didn't have Staind.
No,
I mean,
that's where I met 3 Days Grace, and Staind played a bunch of shows. Yeah, that's where I met Adam.
Yeah.
In fact, it was funny. That's when I was playing with Jason in Newstead. We were on that Gigantour, and it ended in Toronto. And that's when I had reached out to. I said, "Hey, I'm going to be in Toronto," and that was kind of like the beginning of what Saint Asonia became. Because I said, "I go listen." Even though I wanted to go home, I said, "I'll stay another day if you want to hang out and work on some music." And he did, and I did. So yeah, that was kind of
how much did you get done in a day?
Just really kind of reconnecting, going over a few ideas, and just really kind of seeing if there was anything there. I think and I said that took a little while to actually gain any kind of momentum, but it eventually did. But it took a minute for that to happen too.
So as you're writing this stuff now, as a fan, I now start to think back. Okay, the last album was heavy. Do you want to pick up where that left off?
I mean, I think so. I mean,
Because it's been 10 years, so maybe
it's been,
life happens.
No, sure.
The pandemic happens. Nothing's the same as it was before. So
no,
maybe
it's not. But it's funny. Like I'll even look, like I said, I'll go back and listen to some of this stuff, or even some of the other ideas that because I went from a cassette player to working into Pro Tools now, and I now let's put it into on a hard drive. But when the hard drive crashes, that's no fun either if you have it backed up. So cassettes are sometimes safer. But yeah, I mean, we'll see where the direction is. I mean, it's it could go in a bunch of different directions. And I mean, I think for me, what it always boils down to is what does a singer want to sing over? What inspires them? Because I could, and it's happened. I've come up with something that I thought was the coolest thing I've ever written, and I'll play it for Aaron. He'll be like, "Got anything else?" What do you mean you got anything else?
This is great.
Do you not hear that? There is nothing else. But I mean, so you don't. Sometimes you don't know what they're going to connect with, or want.
All right. So let me ask you this then: so when you're getting ready to present Aaron and the guys' music, how much do you go in with? Like, how many do you have to have? Like,
a lot.
20 songs.
Yeah,
written?
a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, well, listen. The more you have to choose from, hopefully something's good out of it, right?
You pick the best out.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So you kind of, and again, I don't know what's gonna, something I think he might love, he might not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or something that I might be like, he might hear it and go, "Oh, that's cool." And then we'll start, "Oh, why don't you try this?" And we'll kind of, start working it from there.
Yeah, I know this jumps back, but as you're talking about Aaron, I don't know you ever told me how the two of you met. How did you and Aaron Lewis meet?
Christmas party.
Really? So you had him, the family was having a party?
No. A friend of mine used to have a Christmas party, Christmas night. And
December 25th?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Everybody do their family thing, then they'd all go over his house and continue.
They have to take their shoes off to come in?
Well, so this is and I have told this story a million times, but it might have been a minute since I have. But I remember he lived right next to this club that we used to play in Springfield called Infinity.
Oh, yeah.
So he lived in Chicopee. And I remember we left for a little while. And when we came back, and he snapped and wanted everybody out. And I guess he ended up didn't know Aaron and saw him and put his head through a wall. It was funny because Aaron and I were hanging out, and I gave him my phone number. He didn't have a phone at the time, and
no phone.
No phone. Didn't have a phone, and And I admit, I'd been in search of a singer for years, and I had never really found anybody that it was like, this is the guy, So, and I really didn't think even much of, because I'm like, how many times I've been at a party, somebody tells me they're a singer, and then we get together and they're not a singer,
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I never heard from him. This was December. I graduated college that year, and I remember I was working. I had actually moved into Kaz's house where the party was, and his girlfriend was working at some jewelry shop, and Aaron had gone to Atlanta to become a goldsmith, or like jewelry school.
Mm-hmm.
And he ran into Kaz's girlfriend and asked about me, got my number and called me. So, I mean, it was 10 months later from that initial meeting when we actually got together. And then we did get together, and I heard him sing, and I was like, where have you been?
Mm-hmm.
For the last, 15 years.
How come you never saw him play somewhere?
I don't know.
Because he was playing all over the place, wasn't he?
Well, I mean, he had a band that played out a little bit, and I know I felt like, I mean, I wasn't one to go to a bar and listen to some guy playing acoustic guitar in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's what he was doing at the time, So I'd never run across him or heard of him or heard him sing. And I did. I was like, blown away.
If you find a good singer, you hang on to him.
Oh, man.
Right?
It's just hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really hard to find somebody.
And
with
lyricists and all that, right?
Yeah, no, he's great.
Okay, so back to today, you're working on stuff. How many songs would you say you have now that you would present to Aaron? Like,
Sure.
here's what we got.
I don't know, 25 or 30.
Really?
Yeah.
And would you take all of those to him and listen to all of them? And
I think, you have to, right?
really? I don't
Figure
know.
out what's best.
Really?
Yeah.
See, as a fan, I always think, okay,
And this
your
is
job's easy.
And this
Come
is
up
a little.
with 12 songs, put it on a record and tour.
No, it's not easy. And I don't know if you ever saw we did a making of the record on the last Staind record. That record was not an easy record to make.
No, it was a very cheery documentary.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, it was not easy. So
A lot of tension.
yeah, a lot of
Right?
tension. Yeah, it was really tough. We were going
Did that
through a
help
lot
the
of
record, though?
changes. I don't know if it did or not. It didn't help my mental state at the time. I can tell you that.
You go back and watch that at all?
I've never watched it.
Yeah. You lived it.
I would tell you, they used to send us clips to have to approve like edits and stuff. And I'd literally watch like 90 seconds and go, I don't care. Do
Yeah.
whatever you want.
Yeah.
I cannot.
Yeah.
I can't watch
I mean,
it.
it came out great, I think.
Oh,
it's
okay.
interesting, but I would imagine if you lived it, you wouldn't really want to relive it.
No, I've never watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's heavy. All right, so you've got these songs. What's your timeline? Do you think you'll be presenting them to Aaron soon?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it needs to, yeah. And I mean, he's heard some of them for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's, and we just need to figure out, direction where we're going to be going and what we think's good.
Take it from there.
Yeah.
And the part I didn't get back to, just quickly, when you did get back together for those handful of shows and the two in Connecticut, what was it like for you? You had to have been pumped.
Yeah,
to
no,
be
it was,
back
it
on
was,
stage
it was
with
great.
the
It
band,
felt great to be
big
out
production behind you, like a real
there. Yeah.
That
No,
had
it was
to be
cool.
cool.
It was very cool. And I felt it when we did that Northampton show. I mean, I just remember walking off stage and going, look, that guy can sing. He's so good.
You
know
almost
what I mean?
forgot, right?
You don't forget, but you can be reminded of what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's cool. As always, I wish you and the band nothing but success.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed watching the ride all the way through, and I can't wait to see what comes next from Staind and Saint Asonia and all your different projects.
Thank you.
We'll go to Six String Cafe.
Let's do it. Come on, if we can ever get start booking bands again, we'll let you know.
You guys
for a
must
show.
be open for some business, no?
No, we've been open. Yeah, we've been open. And actually, so we have partners that handle like the restaurant and bar side, and we handle the entertainment side of it. And they've done a great job because our partner has, I think, 10 restaurants in Boston. And they've done a great job of adapting and, making up, we have the Britney Spears brunch coming up, which but they take care of that stuff. We just had, you know, like, they just come up with different things to do, you know, office trivia night or something, socially distanced, you know.
It's all about marketing.
Yeah. And they do a really good job in the brunches and stuff on the weekends. And, you know, so, but we had all those events, you know, there was all the Patriots games. You know,
How'd you get Garth Brooks in there?
So, yeah, that was a really, so Garth was doing that, you know, a dive bar tour, and he was just choosing different bars.
No offense, dive bar can be complimentary.
No, yeah. But listen, I'll take it. It was a great night. So I don't know how many he did, but I know that one of my partners was talking to one of the radio station guys that runs a bunch of stations, and, you know, mentioned like, hey, if there's any way, and our general manager. In fact, I was with Adam. We were going out to promote the record, and my general manager, I was in a layover at an airport, and he's like, I just got a call from, and he said the lady's name, and I apologize, I don't remember what it was. But anyway, she was his manager, and she's like, you need to sign a non-disclosure, and, you know, you can't tell anybody, but we have some news for you. So they had just kind of chosen us, and I don't know if it came from that conversation with the radio guy or what, but they were just looking for different places to play.
That's cool.
It was great. I mean, it was, and I got to tell you, I mean, that guy, I mean, I'm not, we have mostly predominantly country music at the Six String, but, man, that guy's just, you know why he's, you know, performer of the year or whatever.
Right.
I mean,
he's got it.
Yeah, he's got it for sure. You know, what a great show.
Well, can't wait to see what comes, this year, next year. You know, it's the wait and see year, but I can't wait to see what you guys have planned.
Thanks, man. Me too.
For sure. Mike Mushok here on Riff on It on YouTube. Please subscribe. Thanks for spending some time with me, Mike Karolyi, and Mike Mushok. See you soon.